Yuri, who was in the middle of class, suddenly found herself transported to a mysterious world. As she gazes upon the unfamiliar surroundings, fear fills her heart. Quickly, she reaches for her phone to call for help. But her parents' numbers refuse to connect. In despair, a familiar voice speaks out. Her brother tells Yuri, "This is a special world, where everyone can only move on rooftops. The only connection between buildings is a suspension bridge. The elevators and stairs leading to the ground are blocked off, making it impossible to reach the surface. And on the rooftop, there exists a group of mysterious masked individuals, indiscriminately slaughtering humans. Their aim is to plunge people into despair, forcing them to jump off the buildings. So, the two of them agree to meet at a distant high-rise. Suddenly, a masked man appears behind Yuri, raising his knife to strike. Yuri ran for her life, weaving her way across the precarious suspension bridge, but the man catches up, choking her and throwing her to the ground. In the nick of time, the masked man was suddenly shot and died, as the arriving police officer saves Yuri. When the policeman went to check the situation, he was pushed off the building by his partner. Before Yuri can react, the deranged police officer slowly turns towards her, wearing a sinister smirk on his face, advancing her towards the wall, about to commit unspeakable acts. Little does he know, all of this is being observed by a masked figure in the distance. With a gunshot, the officer is struck down, and Yuri swiftly dodges to the other side. It turns out a sniper was lying in wait, collecting her thoughts. Yuri calmly picks up a handgun from the fallen officer, and then sets fire to the scene, making her escape. Just as Yuri escapes from one danger, she encounters another masked woman blocking her path. Swiftly, the woman wields a scythe and swings it at Yuri, reacting with quick reflexes. Yuri raises her gun to retaliate, but the woman effortlessly dodges her shots. Helpless, Yuri changes her strategy, telling the masked woman that she has already lost hope, and now intends to jump from the rooftop. The masked woman comes forward to check the situation, but she doesn't realize that Yuri is already down there with a gun aimed at her. This time, Yuri doesn't miss her mark, firing several shots at the masked woman, but to her surprise, the woman is still alive. The shattered mask reveals that they too are humans, only their minds are controlled by the masks. She warns Yuri not to approach, as she may accidentally kill her. She must follow the orders given by the mask. She warned Yuri not to look at the back of the mask. The woman proceeds to carry out the final command, which is to commit suicide. Witnessing the masked woman fall, Yuri feels a deep sorrow, determined to stay strong and survive. Soon after, she discovers a supply pack nearby. Securing a handgun and replenishing her energy, she ventures into the building. There, she comes across a dead body, and finds a note in the pocket of the corpse's clothing. The note reveals that there are scheduled flights to transport people out of this world. To leave this realm, one must reach the designated landing pads across various locations, and only the first person to arrive is allowed to do so. Suddenly, gunshots echo through the corridor. Yuri follows the sound. She sees a blonde woman preparing to kill someone, but she is not one of the masked individuals. But the gun is pointed at a human. Yuri swiftly fires a shot, knocking the blonde woman's gun away, but the woman quickly pulls out a dagger, dispatching the man in front of her without hesitation, because she wants a spot on the helicopter to get out of here. Then the blonde woman tries to kill Yuri again. Recalling her missing brother, Yuri decides to give her the chance to leave. At that moment, the mysterious sniper appears at the end of the hallway. Taking aim at the blonde woman, Yuri selflessly lunges forward, taking out her gun and shooting at the sniper, using the opportunity to hide on the other side. Mayuko, the blonde woman, was surprised that Yuri risked her life to save her. As they introduced themselves, the sniper retaliated by shooting a bullet that ricocheted off a dagger on the floor, attacking them both. Faced with this danger, they decided to join forces and eliminate the sniper. They quickly ran up the stairs, with the sniper following closely behind. When they reached the stairwell, a hand grenade rolled down from above. After a massive explosion, Yuri picked up a hat from the ground. She thought of her brother. Then Mayuko suddenly asked Yuri if she'd really give herself the chance to leave this place. Yuri took out her student ID and told Mayuko, "If you really go back to the old world, give this to my parents." She wanted them to know that she and her brother were trapped in this strange realm. Suddenly, a helicopter sound echoed through the air. They ran up to the helicopter, but they were too late. The helicopter had already departed. Angry and frustrated, Yuri fired several shots into the sky with her handgun, watching the helicopter fade into the distance. Mayuko seemed disappointed, but she remained patient, knowing she could wait for the next opportunity. Having experienced everything, Yuri made a firm decision. Not only did she want to reunite with her brother, but she also vowed to gather a team of allies who could fight alongside her. Together, they would seize the helicopter and claim the sky, ultimately destroying this absurd world. However, in the next moment, the previously boastful Yuri collapsed to the ground, exhausted. On the other side, the man taking a bath removes a familiar mask. It's the same sniper from before. Turns out, he wasn't blown up. Only the mask was cracked by the explosion, perhaps due to the crack in the mask. He gradually began to grasp his own thoughts, but he still couldn't escape the control of the mask. He still had to be a killing tool. At that moment, a man in a yellow suit and a mask approached him. They pass each other, and the man in the yellow mask raises an axe to attack. Unfortunately for him, an axe isn't as fast as a gun. After taking down the man in yellow, the sniper realized something. A cracked mask invites attacks from others wearing masks. This was quite a problem for him. The scene shifts. Yuri, having woken up again, finds that Mayuko was gone, and her pistol was taken too. In her sadness, she suddenly sees a masked man approaching. She runs for her life. But there isn't just one person chasing Yuri, there are three. Yuri sabotages the suspension bridge, leaving one of the masked men hanging from it, but the man's companions do not help her. Instead, they send her away from this world. Yuri's pistol is out of bullets. She can do nothing but keep moving forward. Just when she thinks she's done for, Mayuko appears behind the masked man and opens fire. The ruthless masked man quickly uses his comrade's body as a shield. By this time, Mayuko has run out of bullets. Seeing this, the masked man charges at Mayuko. In a critical moment, Mayuko throws her gun away. He knocks Mayuko to the ground with his iron claw. As he licks his claw in excitement, Yuri points her gun at him. Turns out, Mayuko knew Yuri had a spare magazine, which is why she threw the gun to her. Yuri removes the mask from the man's face, only to find him barely alive. She recalls the maid's warning, never to look at the back of the mask, so she asks what would happen if she did. The man tells her that seeing the back of the mask is like being brainwashed. You can't resist the orders, and removing the mask won't undo the effects. After that, the man follows his last order. Yuri is grateful for Mayuko's timely rescue. They decide to form an alliance in this strange world. Then Mayuko checks the time on her phone. When Yuri saw it, she went crazy, desperate to take the phone. Turns out, Yuri is extremely worried about her brother. Once the call connects, she hears a familiar voice. Yuri told him what happened to her. She also shares her plan to hijack a plane to escape. Her brother agrees with her plan. He tells Yuri he will join her as soon as possible. Now, they must gather allies, collect weapons, and wait for the next plane to land. Two masked individuals push the girl to the ground, intending to make her feel despair. The bloodstains on their masks indicated that this was not their first act of this kind. In this lawless and mysterious world, a group of masked people mercilessly slaughtered humans. It was a world dominated by masks, where anyone who saw the backside of a mask would be controlled by it, compelled to carry out its commands and mercilessly slaughter others. This drove normal people to despair and suicide. Those controlled by the masks were called angels. Surprisingly, a girl approached the masked individuals, initiating a conversation. Just as the masked sniper was about to kill her, his mask gave him a new order: to guard the girl and get close to the humans, because this girl is a near god. It was the first time Miyazaki met a talking masked man, so she started to introduce herself. But she knew nothing. She also doesn't know anything about the world. To fulfill his command, the sniper decided to take Miyazaki to Yuri. Yuri and Mayuko were crossing a suspension bridge, searching for survivors like themselves, to resist the pursuit of the masked people. Just then, a chef masked man appeared out of nowhere. He grabbed Mayuko's leg, throwing her into a room downstairs. The masked person used to be a chef, and, as he looked at Mayuko's fair neck, memories of cooking scenes came flooding back to him. He couldn't help but think that such tender meat shouldn't go to waste. Mayuko sensed that this masked person was different. Not only could he speak, but he also had independent thoughts. She pretended to be weak and voluntarily suggested jumping off the building because the masked people aimed to make people despair, not to slaughter them. However, the chef masked person didn't want to let her go so easily. He informed Mayuko that his mask was defective, allowing him to hear commands and have his own consciousness, which enhanced his combat abilities. His current intention was to cook Mayuko's flesh. At the critical moment, Yuri suddenly appeared and fired several shots, knocking down the masked person. Yuri then tells Mayuko to take the gun and meet her at the stairs. However, the masked person was not dead and attempted to jump off the building with Mayuko. In an instant, Mayuko killed him. Yuri arrived, excitedly mentioning that she had found a way to recruit new allies. It was a notice-seeking companions, hinting at the secrets of this world. The two set off towards their destination. Suddenly, the mysterious person turned around, revealing the appearance of a masked individual. Yuri immediately reached for her gun when she sensed something was wrong, but she was swiftly ambushed by a man hiding nearby, who stunned her with an electric baton. The mysterious man removed his tape-covered mask and revealed the secret of the masks. Among all the masks, only the ultimate mask could bring an end to this bizarre world. His purpose was to capture more people in search of the ultimate mask. Just as Yuri was on the brink of despair, a masked individual wearing a motorcycle suit suddenly appeared. In an instant, he killed everyone present. The masked person then shifted his attention to Yuri. Faced with a powerful enemy, Yuri told Mayuko to run. She was ready to die. However, Mayuko would never abandon her friend out of fear for her own life. She reached into her bag and pulled out a mask, swiftly putting it on her own face. Before Yuri could react, Mayuko had already entered a state of frenzy. Suddenly, Mayuko grabbed a knife and severed the masked person's arm. The masked person retaliated by shattering Mayuko's mask with a single punch. It turned out the mask Mayuko wore was a defective one belonging to the chef masked person. Despite becoming an angel, she still retained her consciousness and increased her combat abilities. However, she was still no match for the masked person. Just then, Yuri took the opportunity to cling onto the leg of the masked person. This timely delay allowed Mayuko to successfully eliminate the masked person. However, before they could catch their breath, they were confronted by an enraged old man who incessantly shouted about killing the near god. But Mayuko's formidable fighting skills frightened the old man. He proceeded to share his own story. He had 4 companions with whom he had overcome numerous obstacles, but they were all stopped by a man with glasses who controlled the masked people and killed his comrades. This man proclaimed himself as a near god, deriding pleasure from controlling this world and seeking to eliminate anyone attempting to destroy it. So Yuri and Mayuko agreed to help the old man take revenge. However, Near God mocked the old man for only bringing 2 individuals with him. He then unleashed his controlled masked people to attack. Mayuko brandished her knife and fought back, while the old man saw an opportunity for revenge and charged forward, only to be instantly killed by the masked person. The masked person continued to fight with Mayuko, but gradually, he began to lose. Shortly after, Near God summoned his second masked person to join the fight. Unexpectedly, Yuri swiftly dispatched the masked person with a few shots. Enraged, the man with glasses aimed his gun at Yuri and Mayuko. All of this was seen by Miyazaki, who was not far away. She didn't want to witness anyone being killed. The sniper explained to her that as a near god, she must possess her own unique ability. Suddenly, Miyazaki remembered something and took out her phone, swiftly executing a series of commands. In an instant, a building turned into ashes. It turned out her ability as a near god was the control of magnetic rail cannons in various buildings. This scene astonished the man with glasses, who mistakenly believed it was Yuri who unleashed the magnetic rail cannon. Yuri suddenly realized what had happened and declared herself as the strongest near god. She claimed that she could easily launch another magnetic rail cannon like before. Terrified, the man with glasses fell to his knees, begging for mercy. At that moment, the injured old man groaned in pain. Yuri immediately ordered the man with glasses to provide medical treatment. Suddenly, a scream shattered the recently restored calm. Yuri decided to set off and investigate the source of the scream. However, Mayuko caught sight of a masked version of herself, and she gradually lost control of her emotions. Mayuko knew that the mask was gradually taking over her mind. Subsequently, the two of them entered the library of the building and encountered a masked man covered in blood, wielding a baseball bat. Mayuko immediately charged at him but was knocked down due to her short knife. Yuri fired several shots but failed to hit the masked person. Then, another gunshot rang out, and the masked person fell to the ground. The familiar sound of the gunshot made Yuri think of the sniper masked person. Remaining vigilant, Yuri continued to shoot while swiftly retreating with Mayuko. The sniper, feeling helpless, only wanted to reunite with Yuri and had no ill intentions. He knew that pursuing them recklessly might provoke their attack. At this moment, Mayuko couldn't resist the power of the mask and fell to the ground. She finally revealed the truth. The defective mask she had put on had ultimately taken control of her mind. She was about to lose all her memories and become a killing machine. With her last bit of sanity, she stood up and walked towards the window, intending to commit suicide. Yuri quickly rushed forward and held her, but it triggered the mask's command. The mask continuously ordered Mayuko to kill Yuri. With a shred of remaining sanity, Mayuko managed to restrain herself. However, the mask's commands kept repeating, causing Mayuko's body to reach its limit and enter a dormant state. At that moment, a masked person dressed in purple appeared. The masked person warned Yuri not to show any hostility easily, as the mask would automatically perceive her as an enemy and eliminate her. Seeing that the masked person had no ill intentions, Yuri inquired about Mayuko's condition. The masked person explained that it was the consequence of multiple unexecuted commands, and after 2 hours of dormancy, a person would die. The masked person also revealed that in order to save Mayuko, Yuri must obtain the mouthless mask from a certain place and become a near god. However, becoming a near god would lead to a fierce battle for becoming the perfect god of this world, with a very tragic outcome. However, Yuri couldn't worry about all of that at the moment. After ensuring Mayuko's safety, she set off alone. Yuri climbed up a straight fire ladder, but at that moment, a masked person followed her. Yuri had no choice but to desperately move forward. After struggling to climb up, she stumbled and fell. The masked man took advantage of this and stepped on her. Taking out a syringe to inject Yuri, Yuri fought desperately and managed to escape. She saw a white box and quickly grabbed the mouthless mask from it and put it on her face. In the instant she put on the mask, the masked person in front of her seemed to enter slow motion. Yuri grabbed the masked man's collar and threw him out with force. Having dealt with the masked man, Yuri put the mask back on. Various programs compressed into Yuri's brain, and she became a near god. The mask shattered on the ground. At this moment, Mayuko called Yuri. It turned out that Miyazaki, who happened to pass by, used her near god identity to awaken her. Relieved to hear that Mayuko was safe, Yuri let go of her worries. Mayuko reported their location and asked Yuri to hurry back and meet everyone. The woman with a seductive figure and a mask has a peculiar fetish. She enjoys having men lick her shoes and submit to her. She is also one of the most perverse and ruthless masked individuals. With her beautiful legs, she can bring people to their demise. A woman's scream echoes from a distant rooftop as she is pushed to the ground by 2 masked individuals. Just as the masked individuals are about to take the next step, a monk masked individual suddenly appears behind them and instantly kills them. The woman, trembling in fear. This scene is witnessed by Riho and his companion who happen to be passing by. Just then, a phone rings, and the monk-masked individual hands the phone to Riho. A voice claiming to be Yoshikawa, also a near god, is heard from the other end. He is observing Riho and the others from afar. Riho straightforwardly asks Yoshikawa how he obtained his near-god ability. Yoshikawa doesn't hide anything and tells Riho that he accidentally found a mute mask in a corner of a room. After putting it on, his brain was implanted with various programs, eventually turning him into a near-god with the ability to control masked individuals. In this eerie world, becoming a near-god means having the opportunity to compete for the qualification to become the perfect god. Once achieving that, one can obtain everything they desire and even destroy this dreadful world. Yoshikawa expresses his desire to cooperate with Riho's team to bring an end to this evil world. After hanging up the phone, Riho arrives near the building where Yoshikawa is located. Seeing Riho and the others, Yoshikawa appears extremely excited. In that instant, Riho determines that Yoshikawa is a good person and is willing to collaborate with him to defeat the vicious masked individuals. However, what he doesn't know is that every move of Riho's team is being monitored by the mysterious masked woman, who happens to be my favorite character, Yayoi. She is now leading a group of masked individuals, preparing to launch an attack. As the safety pin drops, a smoke bomb is immediately hit by a masked individual with a baseball bat and flies towards Riho and her companions. Upon landing, the smoke quickly fills the entire area, enveloping Riho and the others. In the smoke, Riho and the others are choked and unable to open their eyes, their skin stinging, making it impossible to move. Yayoi, on the other hand, does not want to kill them. Her mission is to make the survivors wear masks and become angels, so she had to kill the monk-masked man first. Immediately after, the second masked person, wielding a long knife, steps forward, preparing to attack the monk-masked man from behind. However, Riho blocks the attack with a large hammer. Yayoi, witnessing this scene, scolds her subordinates for their incompetence. Unable to even handle mere humans, Riho seizes the opportunity to tell everyone to move to a nearby building for safety. He intends to buy them some time. Just as the masked person with the long knife swings it towards Riho, someone suddenly appears from behind and takes down the attacker. Seeing the masked person before them, Riho knew that they were all masked men controlled by Yoshikawa. After the sudden attack they just experienced, everyone is exhausted and gasping for breath. Yayoi was reprimanded by her master for failing to fight, and warned her not to take them lightly just because they were human. Helpless, Yayoi sends out the remaining masked individuals: student masked person, wooden sword masked person, and drill masked person, all taking the stage. Facing the opposing lineup, Riho prepares to engage in battle, but he overestimates his own condition. After days of fatigue and losing a significant amount of blood from his recent injury, he can no longer hold on and collapses to the ground. Although they lose Riho's command, everyone still fights back against the masked individual's attacks. The situation is not too dire. At that moment, a tall masked man appeared, instantly knocked the monk masked man to the ground. Then he picked up Riho and ran away. It turns out that Riho was Yayoi's target all along. Meanwhile, Yuri's phone rings. When she found out about her brother's abduction, she becomes so angry that she crushes her phone. Perhaps due to becoming a near god, she vaguely remembers that there is something important, but she can't recall it no matter how hard she tries. However, the immediate priority is to decide to rescue Riho. On the other side, Mayuko has been waiting for Yuri to return, but she hasn't shown up and her phone is unreachable. Mayuko knows that something must have happened to Yuri, so she dashes out without looking back, but the path to the rooftop is complicated. Anxious, Mayuko shouted Yuri's name. That was the cry that brought Yuri back to reality. She responds with a quick cry. Mayuko quickly ran in the direction of the sound. However, those two shouts attracted the attention of a masked man. A howitzer was fired at Mayuko at breakneck speed. Luckily, the sniper arrived in time. A precise shot detonated the howitzer in the air. Swiftly reloading, the next shot was aimed at the masked figure. However, to everyone's surprise, the bullet was intercepted by a dagger. It was evident that the yellow-haired masked person had blocked the bullet. He commanded the masked artilleryman to continue firing. Just as they were about to pull the trigger, several gunshots rang out. The masked artilleryman fell to the ground in response. Meanwhile, Yuri descended from the sky, shielding Mayuko in front of her. The injured masked artilleryman struggled to stand up. Trembling, he fired 5 more artillery shells. But for Yuri, who had become a near god, these attacks seemed insignificant. The bullets moved in slow motion before her as if they were snails. Before the sniper could even shoot, Yuri's twin rifles easily deflected them. This scene astonished everyone present. The two masked figures had no time to react. The masked artilleryman was instantly shot in the head by the sniper. The other masked figure was terrified and crawled backward on the ground. Thinking he had found a concealed spot and about to make a call for reinforcements, he underestimated the skill of a professional sniper. By that time, the sniper had already changed positions and delivered another headshot, eliminating the masked figure. After dealing with all the enemies, Yuri embraced Mayuko tightly in her arms, filled with excitement. At that moment, Miyazaki approached them, warmly greeting Yuri. It was the first encounter between the two near gods, and they could both sense the immense aura emanating from each other. Miyazaki informed Yuri that the sniper had instructed her to come alone for the rendezvous. As Yuri was not yet immune to the masked figure's attacks, the sniper was concerned about losing control and accidentally harming Yuri, so he intended to maintain a safe distance from everyone else. In addition, Yuri sensed that Miyazaki was also a proponent of peace, and she warmly held her hand. And so, the Yuri squad finally completed their assembly. On the other side, Riho, who had been captured, was brought by the masked man to meet the mastermind behind it all, Aikawa. He, too, was a near god. Aikawa bluntly told Riho that he aimed to become the ruler of this world, the perfect god. However, he acknowledged that achieving this solely with the masked figures would be difficult. He needed Riho's help to eliminate the other near gods. Riho was thinking about how to get rid of this arrogant guy in front of him, but when he found out he could control 30 masked men, he had to give up on that idea. Subsequently, Riho was taken to the rooftop. Aikawa pointed to the tallest building in the distance and told him that to become the perfect god, he had to reach the maglev tower that was not connected by a suspension bridge. It seemed unreachable, but if they could seize a helicopter, it wouldn't be just a dream. Meanwhile, the sound of helicopter blades echoed in the sky above the city. Soon, it arrived at the rooftop, and the cabin door opened. A man in a crying mask waved to the crowd and then flew away. The The crying face masked figures were the guardians of this world. Their purpose was to prevent the near-gods from approaching the tops of the tall buildings and to protect the helicopters from being seized. However, Aikawa had no intention of giving up. He commanded his subordinates to continue monitoring the helicopter's movements. Anyone who approached the helicopter would be ruthlessly killed. This Black Stockings beauty is an interrogation expert. In order to obtain information, she will stop at nothing. To help her master become the ultimate winner, she decides to punish Riho severely. This method of interrogation clearly overwhelms Riho. In order to not reveal the location of Yuri and the others, Riho smashes her head hard against the ground. This gives us a brief moment of clarity. At this moment, Yayoi still wants to continue the questioning, but Riho faints due to excessive blood loss. Meanwhile, the sniper, due to prolonged resistance against the mask's commands, is about to enter hibernation mode. If Miyazaki's near-god abilities cannot wake him up, then in 2 hours, he will die completely. He wants to regain the memories he lost while he's still conscious, so he calls Yuri alone into a room. To make Yuri feel less scared, the sniper sits behind the door. He takes out a photo from his pocket and returns it to Yuri, and tells her that he is a friend of Riho's. But when he puts on the mask, many memories seem to disappear. Then he takes off the mask to let Yuri recognize him, to see if she remembers him or not, but Yuri says she hasn't seen him before. The sniper can only put on the mask and hat again, and at this moment, the sniper can no longer hold on. He is about to enter hibernation mode. He tells Yuri that Miyazaki has a phone that can contact the enemy's boss, and she can use it freely, and he advises her not to be too stubborn. Miyazaki gives Yuri her cell phone and goes to use Near-God's power to wake up the sniper. Just when Yuri thinks she is temporarily safe, there is actually another masked person monitoring them. Miyazaki and Mayuko go into the sniper's mental world. A young boy wearing a hat appears before them. He is the sniper from childhood. His name is Siyu. As the situation grows dire, Miyazaki is eager to cease the sniper's dormant state. She operates with all her strength and finally releases the sniper from hibernation. Perhaps due to exhaustion, Miyazaki suddenly collapses on the ground. Meanwhile, Yuri, having just located the old man and the man with glasses, hears a piercing scream. She decides to go and investigate. Yuri easily follows the sound to its source, but she is still too late. The girl has already been brutally killed by 4 masked men. Yuri effortlessly dodges the bullets fired by her adversaries and begins to counterattack with her gun. However, her opponents were well prepared and charged towards her with shields. Yet, Yuri tackles them to the ground with her body and swiftly shoots one of them, killing him instantly. As a near god, Yuri easily dispatches the 4 masked men. Unbeknownst to her, there are eyes constantly watching her. Yuri feels sorrowful, as she realizes that despite becoming stronger, she has still been unable to rescue others. What's the point of being near God? At that moment, the masked individual hiding in the shadows finally reveals his true identity. He observes that Yuri is unarmed and decides to kill her then and there. Yuri is currently being pursued by the throwing knives masked man, desperately evading the flying blades without any weapons of her own. She spots her weapon not far away and contemplates how to retrieve it. However, the masked man emerges from behind the wall and launches another attack at her. In a panic, Yuri takes cover behind a door, narrowly avoiding harm. Just as the masked man revels in his advantage, a dagger pierces his arm. Mayuko suddenly appears, having subdued the masked man. Under their interrogation, the masked man reveals that his master, Aikawa, is a self-proclaimed arrogant megalomaniac and not as significant as he believes himself to be. Meanwhile, Aikawa issues an assassination order and sends Yayoi, the swimsuit masked man, and a powerful entity known as the Archangel. The Archangel is a formidable masked individual with incredible physical strength and unwavering determination. Even Aikawa, who can control up to 30 masked individuals, is unable to control the Archangel's thoughts, only his body. Thus, he is forced to seal away the Archangel. The man with glasses makes a new discovery and informs Yuri that controlled masked individuals cannot be influenced by other near-gods. However, he also unlocks his own ability, the power to temporarily freeze a masked individual's movements for 1 second, but that second is also important in a real fight. Everyone prepares themselves for the upcoming battle. Just as the sniper aims at Yayoi, Yuzuki suddenly shouts "Mommy," causing the sniper's shot to miss. Yayoi quickly throws a smoke bomb and escapes. The sniper's mission fails, leaving him with no choice but to question Yuzuki. On the other hand, the Archangel was beaten up Yuri and her companions, so he called Aikawa for help. Aikawa knew the situation was urgent, so she lifted his seal. Once freed, the archangel grows in size, becoming fearless and arrogant. He vows to kill everyone, including Aikawa. Yuri and her team prepare themselves, knowing that the archangel is the strongest among all the masked individuals. The archangel swings his large club, slamming it into the ground. When Yuri opens her eyes again, the archangel is nowhere to be found. It turns out that the archangel didn't even consider them a threat and went off to seek revenge against Aikawa. However, the archangel's first step in his revenge plan is to indulge in a massive amount of food. After all, how can one have the strength to throw punches without energy? Ain launches an attack, but only hits the archangel's afterimage. The continuous strikes infuriate the archangel, who smashes Ain's sword with his club and prepares to finish her off. Just as the situation becomes critical, Mayuko and the man with glasses arrive in time. The man with glasses uses his ability to momentarily freeze the archangel's movements, but on the archangel, it only works for 0.8 seconds instead of a full second. However, these 0.8 seconds allow Mayuko and Ain to inflict 2 wounds on the archangel. Realizing that the man with glasses is causing trouble, the archangel shoots a bullet, flicking it with his finger. Ain tries to stop it but is too late. The situation becomes dire. Mayuko tells Ain to retreat with the injured man with glasses while she stays to buy time. Left alone, Mayuko decides to activate the mask program to enhance her combat abilities, but it will take 3 minutes to complete. Mayuko does her best to delay the archangel, but the archangel doesn't give Mayuko any time. With a single swing of his club, he sends Mayuko flying. The impact damages her eardrums, but she must continue to buy time. Just then, the old man appears in the nick of time. While Mayuko knows the old man isn't very capable, any delay is better than none. Mayuko seizes the opportunity to hide and upgrade the program while the old man is unable to defend against the archangel's attack and falls unconscious. Finally, Mayuko successfully completes the program upgrade. Mayuko's countless shadow doppelgangers instantly attack the archangel. After a fierce battle, the upgraded Mayuko manages to hold her own against the archangel, but she is exhausted and out of breath. Realizing it's time to escape, Mayuko leaps out of the window. It turns out this was the plan they had all agreed upon. The sniper uses his exceptional hearing to determine Mayuko's position, and Miyazaki fires a railgun based on the location. Mayuko wonders if the destructive power of the railgun will collapse the entire building. When the archangel crawled out of the ruins, Mayuko was truly shocked. She never expected the archangel to withstand the attack of the railgun. However, the powerful shockwave still injured the archangel's internal organs. So, he decided to kill Mayuko first and then retreat to heal his wounds. At a critical moment, Yuri's appearance foiled the archangel's plan. Just as Yuri was about to shoot the archangel, a prompt appeared in her mind. Yuri successfully unlocked the ability to control a masked person, and the archangel's brainwaves matched hers perfectly. The old man also pleaded for mercy for the archangel, sensing that he was not a bad person and that it was inhumane to kill a defeated captive. After much hesitation, Yuri decided to seal and control the archangel for her own use. Aikawa learned that his most powerful weapon had been dealt with, and his plan failed as a result. However, he obtained important information. The hostage Riho in his possession turned out to be the brother of the enemy near God. He despicably showed Riho the program codes, hinting that Riho might also become a masked person, and thus, the first season of High-Rise Invasion came to an end. Unfortunately, they have yet to escape from this world. Let us await the second season with questions in our minds.